Can we have the first question?
My question is, you were talking about multiculturalism in Islam, like when you have non-Muslims and all that, and you said that Islam kind of doesn't have to be against one another. How about non-Muslim people who live in the Islamic land who transgress against like society, for example, stealing or killing or something like that? How do you rule against those people or whatever? And how do you deal with that?
Sure. Should I ask you from the podium? Can I ask you before you know microphones here? Brief response sitting there. But basically, in terms of non-Muslims who break the law against stealing or so, obviously the punishments are there and they're known. Because even obviously non-Muslims and everyone understands stealing is wrong and so on. You don't need to believe being Sharia to follow that. However, there is conditions. If a Christian steals from another Christian within the Christian area or what have you, then they can have a choice to take it to their own law courts and that will be resolved. There's an interesting case when a Jew was committed adultery and it was brought the case to the Prophet Muhammad, and the Prophet Muhammad said, okay, bring me your Torah, what does it say about it? Bring me the Torah, what does it say about it? So the Prophet Muhammad judged by what was in the Jewish law books about that issue. So again, it has to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Maybe if someone steals from a Muslim, then there is then the law of the land will be applied, but it will be understood. And again, it's not only Muslims that have human nature. Everyone has a human nature, and these laws are designed not just for Muslims but for human nature. But the obligations on these laws are not imposed on non-Muslims because they don't believe in the basis of those obligations. So that's how it's resolved. Any other questions?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, please.
One more point. Why do you need Sharia law? You said something quite significant, I think, when you said that if you fear God, you would not do that. Why don't you do it if you love God?
Very good question. And it's supposed to be this. What I finished on the statement was that man is weak, or men, that humans are weak. That although we have the capacity for free will and enlightened rational thought, we tend to be more deterministic. We tend to go with the crowd. We tend to be, if you put us in a bad situation, we'll tend to be succumbed by it. Yeah? We can say, well, that was wrong, you should have done it. So that's all fine. You can blame the guy or the girl for doing something bad in a bad situation. But let's face it, human beings are we're mostly driven by almost a deterministic factor of our nature. Almost like, animals are in some ways. They just react to impulse instincts. And though we have an intellect, unfortunately, a lot of us fall short. Or in fact, most of us fall short of what a higher reason kind of dictates to us. So it's because human beings are weak that they need some kind of organization to prevent them from stumbling. You see, if a person is, let's say, a reformed alcoholic, okay, but they're just newly reformed from drinking alcohol, and you take them to a pub, and you sit down there, and everyone's drinking alcohol around them and so on, and that is what you want something very nice. Let's celebrate. The person, yes, has the choice not to do it. That's fine. His rational faculties are there, but in a lot of cases, they will re-offend, so to speak, relapse back into alcohol, back into drugs, back into crime, like a criminal, for example. So why not get rid of the temptation to do so in the first place to the best degree possible? We can't create a utopia. Utopia can't exist because of human nature, free will, as it's unpredictable. But you can get rid of is deterministic factors. And example, every politician realizes that human beings will tend to do something in a certain situation. Will tend to do it. Example, when there's mass poverty in an area, or it's deprived, or what have you, there's racism against one ethnic group, this ethnic group will tend to engage in crime and not adhere to the law, for example. Just law of nature. Every minority group has been accused at some point in a xenophobic culture of being criminals or what have you, untrustworthy, and so on and so forth. And this has caused a lot of backlash, unfortunately. So human beings are a lot of the time deterministic, but hopefully, there is free will. A lot of us can also and make decisions. So what Sharia is trying to do is eliminate the causes. And I can give an example, another example. I can even be a good intentioned businessman, and there could be 1,000 businessmen like me who are good intentioned and we just want to do business, accumulate wealth, but we're not going to steal from anyone. We're just going to accumulate wealth. In a society with good intentioned businessmen and good intentioned people, you get accumulation of wealth and mass poverty anyway, with the best of intentions, still. See, because I'm only an individual, I can look at, as far as around me, I can't look at what's happening across the country or there, or how my actions affect the greater economy, or what everyone else is doing. I need a system to regulate those actions. And this is not an argument for Sharia, it's a general argument for law itself, actually. So that's why you need Sharia. But what you do in the privacy of your own home, which you should notice only affects yourself, is between you and God.
A sister has this question, if I may read it.
Sure.
I understand that women are able to work, but it is not, however, an obligation for us to work. And so, if working involves compromising our religion, such as in NHS courses requiring us, the sisters, to bear their arms from the elbow down, does this mean it becomes an issue for sisters to participate in medical courses, for example, medicine and dentistry courses offered at this university?
Sure. Well, this is what is in some way a fifth question, a question of jurisprudence, of which I'm not able to give answers. But what I will tell you is there are workarounds. Why not use your imaginative capacity, the creative capacity to do workaround? If a woman, if you're required to have your garment ending there, why not have some hygienic garment that goes skin tight going to here, for example, or what have you? There's always workarounds you can find, or human beings are creative enough to find workarounds. So that shouldn't be a problem, and so on. Although, as I said, I'm not mufti. Maybe Mufti might say, well, it's okay in that situation, but I can't give that ruling, because that requires jurisprudential knowledge of all the legal facets. But what we do know is that requirements, the ruler, necessities, do allow exceptions to the rule. So if you are seeking medical treatment, and there's obviously only is a woman doctor, and she has to examine some parts of your body, for example, whatever. And then yes, if there's no one else around the same urgent, or what have you, then there is Islam is flexible with necessity. When something is necessarily required, it doesn't mean, well, you're going to die unless this woman or the doctor operates on you. So tough mate. How big do you want your gravestone? No. If he needs it, then they need it. That's fine. There's that flexibility. So that wouldn't be an issue. In terms of, I think the more general question about women compromising her religion to work. Again, who told? Firstly, the first premise is who told women that you only matter, you're only worth something if you have economic output or economic productivity. Who said this? Who defined like this? Right? The women give birth to the next generation, they give birth to the future. All men do is just preserve the present. It doesn't last very long. So who says, who's more important? Actually, us, the woman's more important. You see? It's a materialistic society that material productivity makes you of more worth. It's only the material side that would say that, not Islam would say this. But secondly, a woman can work, but not at the expense, if she has children, of her children. If a woman really wants to work, and if she's with an understanding husband, then she can even write into her marriage contract, which is that my husband won't prevent me from working, with a few caveats with it. That's fine. The marriage contract allows that. You can negotiate this with the husband if the woman wants that kind of freedom. And in some cases, there are marriage contracts which restrict men from having multiple wives and so on. Say all men, it's like, oh, damn it, why do you tell the woman in this audience that? Then why do you give it away? But that can happen. If the man agrees to it, it's a promise. It's a contractual promise, so you have to agree to what you've promised, according to law scholars. So I hope that's answered. If not, then please ask again. Any other questions? I think you raise your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, obviously you're saying that women are responsible for continuing humankind. How are women viewed who don't want children, or who don't want to continue accumulates? Because obviously when you're saying that that is their primary function, their primary purpose, how can you like reconcile that with women who might just not want children?
Sure. Or the better question is, what about women who can't give birth to children? Like, Aisha, the Prophet's wife, she didn't have any children. She was the Prophet's wife. Yeah, she didn't have any children. Now, when I was talking about the man and the woman and what they do, I'm not saying that you're only a man if you look after, if you are married and you have a family, and you should only be respected as such, only if you have this, and you're only a woman, you only should be respected as a woman if you can give birth to children. So it doesn't say this, there's an intrinsic worth. The worth is intrinsic to what they are. And what Islam is describing is not the intrinsic worth. Islam is describing how you apportion the tasks within the family unit. That's all. It's a purely functional thing. And as I said, you have worth as a human being before you have worth as a woman or a man, because we're all in the same, obviously, race, same species, and we have intrinsic value as souls, which were there to worship God. So whether you decide to go to fight against an oppressor somewhere and you die young without any kids, does that make you less worthy or anything? Well, no, it doesn't. We're here to worship God. Virtue is the only criteria to judge value of someone. How virtuous they choose to be. So, and you can choose your own price, so to speak, your own value, and so on. So that's how it's judged. Not on the woman only has value if she produces kids, or the man only has value if he looks after the woman. However, once they get into that relationship, and the man neglects his duties, then his worth is depreciated, because he's not fulfilling the rights of his wife, and vice versa. And it's not a right of the woman, so it's not a duty of the woman to provide, give birth to kids, because it's outside her control. She can't do that. Islam does not say that the woman must actually deliver a child to the husband. It doesn't say that. It says that the wife should be caring, loving, and kind as she can, and vice versa back. So this is all it says. So there is no work based on whether they produce their what's assigned to their gender or not, and so on.
There is another question on the other side.
If a woman can't have children or whatever, is that enough reason for a man to then have another wife? And how common is it in Islam for a man to have another wife?
And how, what, sorry?
How common is it in Islam for a man to have
Another wife. Extremely uncommon. If you just look at the sisters over here in this room, men cringe in fear of upsetting them. As one person said to me, it's like, the poor women of the Middle East, they have to live with a husband that has many wives. And to which the Middle Eastern friend of mine responded, have you met women of the Middle East? Right? Basically, in terms of polygamy, it is not saying, well, if the woman can't have kids, whatever, then the man must get married to another. It doesn't say that. It's just an option that's available, because that's what this flexibility is around. There's not even any narrations which say that it is maybe recommendable for the guy to marry someone else if his first wife. It doesn't even say that. Or I'm just telling you that could be a reason. It's just an option that's available. But I didn't get to tell you, because of restricted time, all the different caveats. The man has to provide for both wives equally, according to the level of care that they were used to. So very few people can afford even one wife, let alone two. A lot of, I think the majority opinion is that there must be two abodes. So two abodes, if you give one gift for one, you have to get another gift for another one. The verse of the Quran says you must be equal to all of them. And then later on it says, but in reality man cannot be equal to any of them. So it's better one, it said. The Quran says it's better one. It's better for you to stick to one. And when people say, but the Prophet Muhammad had many wives, and should we emulate him? Yeah, but he was a prophet. Yeah, and if you believe in Islam, in Islamic narrative of the Prophet Muhammad, who could do miracles, one of his highest miracles he achieved was being able to be a good husband to multiple wives, 5, 6, 7, and so on. And that was only for him to have the amount that he had. And so, and a lot of them were widows and were very old and didn't have anyone else to look after them. So he did a lot of actually a charitable marriage, just so he could look after them, so they could reside in his household and be looked after. And obviously, we can't do it. How prevalent is it is very, very minuscule. In fact,